All right, back at it again. Got everything recording, going. Um, Crazy enough, you guys got snow.
We did.
It's still snowing right now.
No, it's gone. It stopped about a little after lunch.
Okay, because I remember I got
So
your text and I was like, and you mentioned your driveway being a sheet of ice, and I was like, I've seen that driveway. There's nothing going up that driveway.
no, once the sun came out, it got better. So
All right, that's good.
that helped out. And that's the way it is kind of right now as well. The sun's out
Yeah, yeah.
and snow's
Whereas,
gone. It's
yeah,
still like in the low 20s, but no sun.
yeah, and it's kind of crazy because like we're sitting here and sun and it said 60, but I don't really know if it was supposed to be like only in the 40s today, maybe 50s, but then when it said 60s, I was like, oh, no. Yeah, it's still like 45 here. So it's not warm, but it's not cold, but it's at least sunny.
Yeah.
Um, do you guys know my parents out in Washington? They got like 5 inches one night this weekend.
Yeah, I saw that. And then they got another one coming through, if not today or tomorrow. Is that right?
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, so it's supposed to clear up for yesterday, and it was supposed to start raining, which the rain helps take care of the snow. Unless it does, unless it stays wet and freezes again. But then I think they might get some more snow. Do you guys have anything more coming up, or because you guys had some other stuff that threw me too? That you said like people were in and out of power, and like you guys had some crazy weather lately.
I mean, hey, it's Alabama, man. I mean, it'll be 60 tomorrow, it seems like. So
Yeah, I mean, normally we're right in line with you, like a day behind. Like if you guys get snow, normally like the next day we get like whatever like comes up, like follows up 85 and kind of hits us. But this time around, it's been weird because we've just been sitting in this pocket of
yeah, the mountains and everything pushed up. We were right on the edge. If you
okay,
go about an hour north of us, I mean, it was like they got a lot of snow, but we were right on the edge of the ice snow.
all right,
So that kind of hurt us. But yeah, no, it was about 2 weeks ago now, maybe a little over. Yeah, we had like thunder, we had tornadoes go through just north of Birmingham.
okay,
I mean, it's just that for the next 3 months, if you live in Alabama, it's going to be all right. You need to pack for every season
yep,
all
it's
day
it,
and expect tornadoes.
yeah.
So
Like I said, normally we're right behind you with all that, but it's been odd that we've just been consistently just rain to sun, rain to sun, rain to sun. Not as much as like the craziness that we're kind of used to. The running joke of you could throw Alabama's name in there too. The Weather Channel being like a Powerball numbers. We got
yeah,
33 today, 57 tomorrow, 22. Up to 70. Like,
that's right.
in all honesty, I was like, maybe I should go use that one time and see what happens. Just see.
With the way that the numbers go, a lot of times, with to be within a couple of digits of each other, you're not really off. So
Yeah, it could be that way. But all right, well, I see we got Kale over here. First thing I want to tell Kale is congratulations.
thank.
Saw the stuff on being a state qualifier this year, and wanted to ask you a couple questions. Both you and your dad, about what's going on with Alabama and wrestling and state, and I remember you were talking about dual state coming up and everything. But I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's been a while since we've got to catch up and see, and I was gonna see how that related to how wrestling was going on here as well. So let's rewind it a little bit. Dual States was for you guys what, a weekend or two ago, or how
yeah.
did?
Let's see. So this past weekend we just had 7A and 1 through 4A individual state. Dual state was 2 weeks prior to that.
Oh, geez, man. Okay.
Yeah, I know it seems like forever. Yeah, we forewent sectionals, all qualifying, and I won't get on my tangent about how we qualified people for state, but basically they took the seating criteria for sectionals and you entered your wrestlers, and then track wrestling said, okay, here's your 32, and we got like a day and a half to appeal
The qualifications.
like why your guys should or shouldn't, and it was there. As frustrated as I was about a lot of them, I wasn't the only coach. Like there were some guys that hurt, some guys that it helped,
Yeah,
but
it's
it was ridiculous. And the tournament director would not respond to me or others. I contacted my state people. They were like, "Hey, we'll let him here. We'll let him. We'll have him contact you." Never heard from him. But anyway, so that was a couple. I guess probably about 3 weeks ago. Dual state went on finals. Thompson won 7A, big school. Gardendale repeated. And The favorite for the small schools was up 22 points and lost. The other team came back and won I can't remember how many matches were left.
I was about to say, I was trying to kind of do the math. They were up by 22 and lost. How many matches were left, and did they lose the remaining?
They basically lost all the remaining matches but one. But yeah, they were up 22. They were rolling. And
did they give up through bonuses too, or like
you said, it's been about a month ago, but yeah, that was one that lock the whole tournament was like, all right, well, this one's probably going to win. And that was 1 through 4A. The 7A, you kind of felt Thompson. 6, 5, 6A, you felt Gardendale after they got past the semifinal match that they had. But yeah, this one, you're up 22, and I can't remember. I really and truly can't remember if it was like the last 5 or 6 matches. They only won one match.
Wow.
And it was. You want to talk about
they talk about like momentum dump. Like you got the momentum. You're up by 22. You just feeling everybody should like walk out feeling like they're the champs, not then lose the rest.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So, all right, well, that's quite interesting about the state stuff. Our stuff over here. Last time Tyler and I talked, we're currently doing our dual state playoffs are going on. Like yesterday was depending on which upper or lower or which division you were in was the quarters or semis to get ready. So we should know who's going to the finals this week. Like they'll probably wrestle tomorrow or Thursday because they kind of set for our dual state. I don't know about you guys. They kind of do like, all right, this team is the host team. We'll wrestle 2 matches here. Then two nights later, we'll go here. So this week we should know who's going to be wrestling in the dual state championships, in which our state does recognize because you're saying Alabama
we don't officially recognize it. Yeah, ours does the same thing. It's like a Thursday night, you have the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday you have the semis, and then the finals are usually that Friday. So
for us, I think it'll be Saturday. But interesting enough, I don't know how ours does it and yours doesn't, but they actually recognize the dual state championship is the state recognized one. So that's why I think that one probably would be on a Saturday. So I'm looking forward to seeing who makes that one because we got a couple teams around here that, we work well with, practice. But I'm looking forward to seeing who makes that one for our dual state. Normally right after dual state is we've already be done with our upper state normally. Like, so we have upper and lower states here. And right now it's kind of interesting because last I heard, we had our regionals, regions to go to upper state for individual, and then the upper state normally would take your top 4 would go to state. So they kind of break it down. So we'll have upper state versus lower, therefore 4. So they were still planning on doing that as far as individual, as far as I know. But they had something that was quite interesting to me. They said there was either a high number of people who were out on quarantine or who had COVID or whichever during the region tournament. So something about I don't know if you have to go back and again look at something like whatever Alabama did, like look at their record, and if they would have possibly placed, like they could have a wrestle off for somebody who already did qualify for like the 3rd spot or whichever, like there's only, I guess you win it, you're guaranteed to go, but anybody else could have a potential wrestle off. And I was like, not going to lie, I was like, man, I had mixed feelings about that. Okay, if it benefits our guy, cool. We had 3 guys out that, we're out. Cool, good, great for them. I love for them to have an opportunity. But then at the same time, it's kind of like, man, I think we had a couple guys qualified that on their own merit qualified.
Yeah. And
might have to not qualify if they get hit up from this wrestle off. So, I'm still kind of torn on that. I haven't heard the final results of all that yet. Heck, our state is still trying to figure out if they were going to do the 8-man bracket or a 6-man bracket or how because they were trying to figure out whatever are they even going to allow spectators in? Because it all used to be, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, and 1A all in one venue.
Right.
All together. And then they were like, well, that's too much to put all to one venue. Are we going to split it up and still let parents in? So I honestly haven't heard what they decided on any of that stuff yet. So I was just kind of curious to what you guys are doing, but sounds like you had the crazy qualifier sectional thing, but are you guys having spectators at the state
Yeah,
tournament?
yeah, that's what I was about to get to. So what they did with us when they forewent the sectional tournament, we put forth a proposal.
Mhm.
I say we, like the wrestling committee. So I know a lot of those people on. They put forth a proposal to do a regional site and take the regions for your dual regions and wrestle, and depending on how many you had in the brackets, either be top 2 or top 4, depending on what you had.
Yeah.
And that was shot down because we wanted to do it 2 weeks prior to state to prevent COVID and everything like that. They did tell us January 30th was the final day that our competitions counted. You could wrestle after, but they didn't count because we had to have our entries in on the 3rd of February or something like that. It was, I mean, it's been so long ago now, I haven't even thought about it.
Yeah.
And, but then, normally you would enter it and we would be able to go in and click like, all right, well, Kale wrestled 106. He beat this kid, and you click all that. Well, they told us, nope, you don't do all that. The computer does it. And so what it does is it takes a person. So it took him and it put him against every other 106 that was entered. And they went through the criteria. And so if he beat the kid head to head, he got a point. But if that kid had more wins than him, that kid got a point. So you could actually beat a kid and still be seated below him, which happened in his bracket, and other kids in other brackets. You could beat a kid and then be seated below them because they had more points.
Mm-hmm.
So it's making for some interesting brackets and some interesting things. Like if he does and this other kid does what they're supposed to do, he'll meet the 7 in the second round, which is round of 16, who he beat already. Yeah. But that kid had 40 something wins compared to his 17 because of the way they wrestled.
That's what I was going to say. We had that discussion at the very beginning of the year. They said, how do you seed this year when you have a kid that could be 10-0 versus a kid who is 30-3?
So what they did here was the thing that really got everybody kind of messed up, or I'll say kind of and made us ask the question, was they said, all right, normally you have to have 15 competitive matches, non-forfeits, to be considered to be seeded unless you're a state qualifier, placer, or champion.
Like 10, you have those, then it goes down to minimum 10 matches,
Yeah. And so they dropped it to 5. And so then the question was asked, well, okay, well, if you're going to drop that, well, then we need to remove the number of wins, because number of wins, it went, so criteria was head to head, common opponent, and then it went champ, finalist, placer, qualifier, and then the next one was number of wins. Then after number of wins was win percentage. So it was like, well, let's remove number of wins. They're like, no, we're just going to leave that in there. So once again, those teams that were able to or did and got a whole bunch of matches, even if you stayed in a pocket and you didn't go because you couldn't
and they
travel,
just wrestled that same group over and over and over.
So if the magic number became about 15, if you had about 15 wins, your kid was getting in the state tournament. Yeah. They could have been, 6 of them could have been forfeits, and you could have beat the same kid 4 times, and the rest of them, you're in the tournament. Yeah. So,
it sounds like what Dresser did like a while back. Like you would have the mini tournament, and he would seed it how he wanted to seed it, and just get guys their win percentage up by giving them matches over and over.
There were some coaches that did that. They would have tournaments.
That doesn't surprise me.
And they would wrestle their varsity, but they bring in another team's JV. Mm-hmm. And so it got, but they say it all comes out in the wash, but it's going to make for some interesting round of 16 matches Thursday.
And then there's a few outliers that didn't get a chance to qualify because of the way it worked out.
I've got a 20-pounder and a 60-pounder that were both seated number 33. I appealed. The 20-pounder dropped to number 35, even though we had beat 2 guys that qualified, had common opponent wins over 2 guys. The number 33 guy and the number 30 guy have 500 records. The number 31 guy has a losing record. The number 28 guy has a losing record. And like I said, 2 of those other people we had beat head to head. But we didn't get in with the winning record at 10-9 or 10-8.
And still dropped further back. That's crazy.
I was like, and that was when I was like, hey, can you explain this? Nothing. Ghosted.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
But anyway, so it's been crazy on my end. Caused a lot of stress, and I've been chiropractor 3 times in the last 6 days to try to get straightened out.
Gotcha.
So, I think so. I'll let you talk to him for a minute because you got a state qualifier first time. So
Yeah, no, that's what I was about to just say. I was like, we get a lot of our talk as coaches and our perspective of things, and just like our frustrations and our like looking at this and that and stuff like that. But I want to just so okay, like this year has been a unique year. I know your kind of history with wrestling, obvious reasons. You know, me and your dad and everything like that. With like your transfer, your sitting, and all that kind of stuff. Real quick, tell us. All right, so what you're 106 pounder this year, right? Okay, go grab some water, bud. All right, you're 106 pounder this year.
Yes, sir.
All right, you are sophomore.
Yes, sir.
All right, sophomore. So after having to basically sit a year and you finally got to go through it, how did you feel about this year so far? Like, what was like? Were you just glad to wrestle? The way this whole state qualifier thing happened, like, were you apprehensive after having to sit a year? Like, what? How are you feeling about things right now? Like, just I want to get like the athlete perspective of some of this.
I'm feeling real good about it because it's my first time to state. It's like been waiting because he's been coaching at like every state tournament, so it's finally good to be competing in it.
Yeah,
And this year's just been like control what you can control and not let other stuff.
yeah. You broke up there just for a second, so I think you're good now. Like you said, you. So repeat just that last part for me one more time.
Just control what you can control and don't let like outer stuff derail.
Hey, that's perfect attitude to have about it. Like controlling what you can control, and not worrying about all the extra stuff. That's a great mindset. Honestly, I think talking to your dad and as a coach and stuff, like we probably have many of senior athletes that were seniors and stuff that didn't have that right mindset to only can worry about what you can control and get after it. After having to sit last year basically as a freshman, I know you wanted to qualify as a freshman, like everybody wants to qualify and be a four-time qualifier, four-time placer, and all those things. With coming into this year, like, and not knowing things, does that make qualifying now like maybe that much more special than it would have if it was a regular year? Or like, just I don't know, like, how did like last year's having to sit the whole year and then this year being a COVID year like impact how you went about wrestling this year? Like,
I don't know. I kind of just thought like I was gonna qualify anyway, even if it was a regular season.
there you go. All right,
Just
that's good.
have that plan of already being in the bracket for state.
Good. So it's that mindset of having that and getting after it. That's awesome. How big were you last year? So were you like what would you have been last year? Would you have been
Like 95, 92 pounds around there.
all right? So it looks like things have worked out pretty well for you this year. Going with all that kind of stuff. When is your guys' state tournament this year?
This weekend.
So it is this weekend. All right. So, man, throw in all the stuff. Throw in snow on Monday. Or no, today's Tuesday. Did you guys have school yesterday? No. So you guys were out.
Practice in yesterday morning.
Did get to have practice in. All right. Tell me about your dad dropped you off someplace for some training or whichever. Like had some pictures of the snow. Looked like some rocky stuff. Were you headed back up to Puller or where was?
Yeah, Perla Wrestling Academy.
Cool. Now you seem to have had a lot of success going up there and stuff like that. I know Nick and I joke about that, free plugs for places and stuff like that. But what do you like about going up there to get some training in and stuff?
The different looks of people and the quality of them. Like they're known for national guys, national college people coming out of there. So
All right, so like you can go up there and know consistently that you're gonna have a good room to practice with and everything. That's
yeah,
awesome.
and this weekend, just knocking off some rust that just got built up throughout this year, and so wrestling the way I usually do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things I think this year as a coach that I miss. Like, even though like I predominantly do the middle school and then I go to the high school after our season is done, is even at the middle school level, like I don't just stay here in our pocket, as you say, like Like, I know the good teams are here, here, and here, and I'm always on the phone like, all right, what are we doing for this year or scheduling? We'll drive out to you, you drive out to us, and just get that different look and stuff. And then this year, everything hit, and we're like, okay, we're staying in our pocket and not allowed to go out of our pocket and stuff. So I think it's awesome that you're getting that experience. Things are going well. I hope the weather holds out for you guys the rest of this week, and everything goes smooth. And looking forward to hearing about how state goes and everything else like that for you this weekend, man. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. So
Yeah, he's gonna head out
I
now.
don't hold him up too much longer either. Like,
Yeah. So no, it's good. I mean, it was you get one of those opportunities, so you go take it. I mean, so go train as best you can, and
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. You go and take people and do what you're trying to do. So it's
I
definitely
mean,
been
whether or not he realized it or not, I think he answered a question I was gonna not necessarily ask, but something that I think you and I have already known. Like, with the right mindset, it doesn't really matter the year. Like this, I've talked about it with everybody from my dad to you to other people. Like, this is the type of year that you find out who is committed to doing what they want to do, who's being that much more aware and conscious of the extra things. And we already know wrestling is by far one of the most demanding sports in practice and out of practice. Like, people already know about weight managing and doing the right things and making the right choices. But I think this year, on top of things, like, those wrong choices could not only hurt you or the team per se, or whichever, like whether it be a stupid weekend or not feeling sick or something like that, or like doing things like, our season is during the flu season normally, you got to take care of things. But man, even more so this year, like, just watching out and make sure you're not doing those extra things that could get you or your team out for 2 weeks at the wrong time. Like you said, trying to section out those things and do all that. And, Jordan Burroughs is famous for saying it, pizza as a high schooler is great, but which one do you want more, that pizza or that's, or that state championship,
and that's the thing. As a head high school coach, I've always I try to like stage things and section things, and taking over late like I did that's been the hardest part, is not being able to schedule the way I would want it to be normally, but still instilling. Now, granted, this child has lived with me and has heard me for his whole life say that.
That's what I was gonna say. That's why I kind of already knew. Like, I kind of asked some things, and I was like, I already know his mindset is going to be the way he's been, but
yeah. And he's that way, and he's getting there, and he's mature, and he's done a lot over the last year and over the last 9 months. I've seen a lot. So, and as long as he stays mentally focused and is locked in, which is why getting the opportunity this past weekend to go and do that was huge. I mean, other guys around here will freaking go train with guys at local clubs on the weekends, like from other teams, which, look, I mean, they don't advertise it, but everybody knows it. So, well, you can go train with that. But anyway, but like I said, so getting back to what I was saying, like being able to schedule it the way I want and have it set up and peak and all those things. And then, like you said, we throw in COVID, we throw in, are we going to be able to practice today? Henry?
Yep, it's Henry. Henry, want to say hey to everybody?
What's up, Henry?
Oh, a little bit hungry. Boy wants some after school snackage and stuff. So getting to do that, and that's one thing that I've started preaching to these guys all year long is, hey, we can only control, and this was a great example and a great year of control what we can control. Just take whatever's thrown at us and let's roll with it, and let's just try to get better every day. And we're going to find that out. We didn't get as many matches as I would have liked. We didn't get as many quality matches as I would have liked. But there are other teams that did the same thing. Yeah. So, but what we did do is we got to spend a ton of time in the room. We got to really install the foundations of the system that we've developed and that we've put in. And we've got the guys, they're buying in. They're starting to echo. As a coach, when the kids start to echo what your beliefs are and you start to say things and you start to see it, you're like, okay, all right. So like I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about the future of where we're going. Yeah. And now we haven't competed in like freaking 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So there's that fear of what's going to happen Thursday. But that's really weird because like you said, normally without having that sectional tournament, like everything is beforehand is like yeah, exactly. So as you're, for those just not watching, as we're doing our hand motion of like you take the next step to the next step to the, and you're so used to that progression of it's hard to guess where you might be. Like, are you, is your body ready for it, or is your mind thinking it's the sectional time because you hadn't wrestled in so long and you still have you don't have another tournament after that and stuff. But yeah, it's really.
I was just gonna say what we did. Go ahead.
Just what you were saying, we were talking about at the beginning of this season, Tyler and talking about like, before we really knew what we were going to have or how much, we're like, man, what would we do if we just had room time? And just like you said, like, man, if we just had room time, we would make the best of what we had. And can you imagine the time that we could have in that room to implement those philosophies, those mindsets, and have like that base of things to have? So like, like we've said this whole time, like finding ways to implement what you still want to do and get a positive out of it. So.
And that was exactly, we knew going into this season before I even took over that there was a lot of wrestling deficiencies within our program. Mm-hmm. And so Brett Hawk, my assistant now, who co-assistants before this, we were put in charge of developing the curriculum and all this, and we've been working. And so, yeah, when things transferred over, it was like, what's priority number one? And we're like, we got to get better at wrestling. So we had to protect room time. And yes, that meant that there were some events we didn't go to. There were some things we didn't, but we did. We scheduled it, and we actually ended up having to work backwards this year, where we had to implement our fundamentals of technique, and then our technique, and then we have been the last month putting in our drilling, positional drilling, to reinforce the fundamentals, which makes the technique better. Which, as we know, from now on, you flip it all around. But we did run the last month of the season. We ran the schedule of practices exactly the way we wanted. I ran my sectional practices exactly the way I wanted, just like I've done in the past with some modifications. I would say state week has been the same, but we didn't have practice.
Yeah, but we're here talking instead of you being at practice right now. So
exactly. So it's been good, and the guys have, like I said, gotten with it, and so there's a lot of good things going on. But yeah, we said let's protect the room, and get better at wrestling. Yeah. And what we saw when we started to have time to put things together, we started to see things happening. It would just be, all right, now we got to stop. And then we see things happening. Got to stop. So I've seen a lot of good things over the last week and a half in the room with our guys that qualified and hadn't qualified. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's always kind of like with middle school, like it's such a short season once we start. Like, mm-hmm. And I think what you just said is like a key point of practicing that room time or protecting that room time. Because like at the beginning of the year, like we have all this stuff in room time to practice, and we get a lot of practice, and we grind, and we go over the fundamentals, and we do all that stuff. And then generally speaking, at the beginning of the year, and I'm just talking out loud right now because of like what you just said, thinking about it, I've got to find a way to make this adjustment while still having our season. But like at the beginning of the year, like our first couple matches, we look really good. We're on it because we've had that room time practice. But with a middle school season being shorter, and then you're still trying to get these X number of dates in, you know how that goes. Like you hit that stretch where, like I said, that in-room practice time, 2, maybe 3 days a week, because you got event, like you have a stretch where that happens. And in middle school, we're trying to get that mat time in too, because you got to grow getting that mat time and all that. But finding that balance of us still having that practice room fundamentals to continue to remind and continue that stuff at the beginning. And this year, in all honesty, though, I think we had a little bit more of that because we had like, less matches because this team canceled or that team canceled or whichever things happened, or, we couldn't travel as far. So we actually had a little bit more, I guess, practice time in the middle, even, where we didn't hit our stretch like we normally would have. Like, all right, it's grind week and we're going to go, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, we're going to get our couple practices in, or if we're going like Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, like whichever how it goes. So, but yeah, that's just going to be one of those things that I think in the future, just looking back on it and just now saying that and hearing you talk about it will be not necessarily like I'm not going to like lessen our number of matches because we only get X number of dates and they still got to get that mat time, but maybe trying to figure out a way to still schedule it to the sense of like, all right, preserve that time as you said, like, and make sure that we still have those blocks of time that we don't just get out of our training just to practice because we got a match tomorrow, practice because we got a match tomorrow, but practice because we still need to work on those fundamentals.
Yeah. So what I started doing the last few years, I was a head coach and then put in this year is, I mean, I've got it all actually typed up now, but like the whole season is mapped out day by day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't matter. Like if there's a match, if it's Tuesday, if it's Monday and there's a match on Tuesday, I'm still going to run this practice. I'm not going to change what it is. And I'm the guy there. There's both philosophies. I've talked to people that are like, I'm going to wrestle every day that I can. I'm going to wrestle as many as I can. Hold my kids. And those coaches will tell you that like, that's where they feel their kids get better by wrestling 60, 80, 90 matches. And I'm the guy on the other side of the spectrum that's like, hey, if I can get about 40, I'm good. And I want to wrestle one day a week and I want to wrestle on the weekend and that's it. So if we get 14 high school dates, if I use 10 of them, great. But I'm not trying to fill all 14. I'm not trying to drive 2 hours and wrestle a quad or a try on a Tuesday night. And I'm not going to bring you in to wrestle a quad or a try on a Tuesday night. I would much rather bring in you with your middle school and above and wrestle everybody and then get everybody go home. But we did that this year, and I think it's Buxton, the former coach at Blair. I think it was his name. But listen to him over quarantine. He talked about mapping out. Start with the end and run, and then from there map your practices backwards.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was starting to do that, but we literally sat down this year, but we couldn't do it this year because of what I said. We were doing install of a whole system.
Yeah.
We just destroyed everything, started from scratch.
Well, that now the end date being in flux at the beginning of the year, hard to do backwards by design when you don't know where your backwards.
Well, this year it wasn't because of that. It was because we were literally starting from square one. We just take everything and delete it, and we're going to start from square one. We're going to do it the way we want. There's some things that you've done in the past that are fine, but there's a lot of deficiencies that we have to fix. You have to understand how to wrestle to understand the technical side of what we're about to teach you.
Yeah.
And so that was but now moving forward, yes, I'll be able to go state tournament, put all my section and state practices in. All right, now I'll run in these practices. Yeah. But yeah, we'll have a full, and I say this, like we had everything installed, all technical sides installed by January 4th. We had 98% of our technique installed by January 3rd,
yeah.
January 3rd, January 4th.
Yeah. So for us, the difference with the middle school is like, that's kind of like every year for us, like that new group every year. And, but the benefit of it though, is I don't have to say, forget what you've learned because you've learned nothing. Like, it's just that, so I start it, but at least I don't have to say, forget what you've learned. And if I do have people, generally speaking, if I do have some that know anything, it's because I've worked with them through a youth program already. So, I do at least have that benefit of it. Like the majority of them don't have to forget any bad habits because they have no habits, period. So, and I've got to say, like, I've realized that has been something that's been kind of nice in the sense of like, I've not never, but like last couple of years, I've noticed that we don't have like as much of the silly reaching back and trying to go for broke, because they've never done that before. So, it was a discussion we had like, man, nobody's reaching back this year. I was like, yeah, because we haven't taught it and they didn't know that they could do that. And we've, from day one, if anybody started to, it was nixed, and all that kind of stuff. So, it's always funny because there's always positives and negatives to every way you go about it.
And what we did when we took our curriculum, and I'll share it with you offside of it, but we took our high school curriculum, but then we have a dumber down version, and we said, this is the middle school. This is all they're going to do. They learned one double leg. They learned 2 single legs. They learned a stand up return, a half, a wing, and a crack. Like, that's it. They learned 7 things. Well, and a hip drop, go behind. And I think a couple of front headlocks. So they learned like 9 things all year long. Mm-hmm. And that's all they drilled. And we took that same thing and we've slid it down because we got our youth. We're kind of getting that all back under control. Actually, I got to go to city council meeting here tonight and talk to them, but we're getting all that under control too. So the youth, we're going to take that middle school package and next year slide it down to our youth. And so our youth is going to be learning the exact same things. So they'll get it then 7th, 8th grade.
And
then
I would almost bet, just because of our similarities with things, like minus maybe 1 or 2 things, you know, like you said, you got 7. Like if I wrote down our 7, like, you know, we might have one thing that's different in there, you know, give 7 to 9 things, you know, but that being said, it'd still be cool to see, you know, compare notes on that and just kind of see how we're running it. But yeah, like I think you and I were talking now about it and all, but a lot of similar mindsets with that kind of stuff. So yeah,
I did something this year I've never done in 20 years. And I actually have spent a ton of time teaching legs. Never done it. Always been like, oh, it's too advanced. But talking about learning, like, you know, him going and training at the Perler system, they're a big leg system. And so yeah, we put it in, and I'm gonna tell you what, I had some kids this year that have freaking picked it up, and it's gonna be scary as we get to work in this off season. I'm so excited to start having some kids be able to put these things in and hit it. So
you know, it's funny that you say that, because I mean, you and I obviously wrestled each other and wrestled in the same room, and neither one of us were. We weren't Heath. We weren't throwing legs in every time we went down to the mat. You know, that wasn't our style. That wasn't how we wrestled, and therefore it's not kind of like how we've coached it. The irony of what you just said is literally the last couple wrestling fanatics like I've got on has been like leg stuff, and I've been looking at leg stuff and things like that. It's funny that you say, like, man, decide to learn something new and go with legs. For me, part of it's been Devin, like, just realizing that naturally when we've been rolling around and watching him roll and him rolling with me, his leg keeps finding a tendency to put him in, and he wants to put him in, and he's been watching some other stuff. And I'm like, I got to learn it. If I'm going to have him do it, or if he's going to do it, I've got to make sure I learn it the right way, the way you and I would want to run it and things like that. So I find that was completely funny that you said that. I was like, dude,
See, I've always run legs. When I wrestle kids, I run legs. I've shown it to my advanced team.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
but as far as like, all right, but we took
team implementation of it.
Yeah, it was like we took, like, I don't know, I probably spent close to 2 weeks this year doing legs, and not just like I said, not just one day. I mean, it was like, it probably has been like, if you add it up, I would be willing to bet it's 7 or 8 days of practice days of implementing running, like across the board, legs, and then you add another double that on days for them that it's been put into our daily drill process. All right, hey, you got 2 minutes work legs, but you start adding it up, and we have seen a ton of success in the room. And some guys, because of what you said, you know, as a coach, it's all of a sudden you don't teach it, and then they go, I just fell into it. And I realized that a long time ago. They literally do just fall into it. And then you're like, get it out. And they get it out, and they get put on their back. So,
yeah. Too much time. I've not finally come to realize, but have been in the process of realizing that when it comes to things like legs, we spend so much time on leg defense because of our insecurities in being a leg rider. So not knowing how to leg ride and not having taught our kids how to leg ride. So we default say they're leg riders, let's do leg defense. And we try to, like, how to stay out of legs and how to get out of legs and stuff. And more focus on that than, I mean, which is important. Yes. I mean, but like, it's a lack of a total package by not learning how to also do
a lot of times legs is feel, bending is feel, cradling is feel. Everything else is so simple. It's like, oh, you just do this and this, but legs is feel. And the stuff that we put in and looked at, and the way we started teaching was everything like step by step. Like, we literally have every move, 8, 1, 2, 3, and we would teach it and do it that way. And when he falls, I'm going to laugh so hard.
That's
but we did the same thing with legs, and that's what made it so much easier. So that was good. So
yeah, it's definitely, it's legs. It's so funny how, as we're talking about this, like, I don't know, the evolution of what we've both been doing and doing things, you know, like, and it's funny because, like, you and I haven't got together before this to say, hey, you want to talk about legs today?
Exactly.
You know, so
It just kind of comes up. But yeah, that's stuff that we did this year. And it has been like, there's a lot of things that having 2 years as an assistant, there's a lot of things that it runs through your mind when you're not in charge anymore.
yeah,
And there's a lot of things that and that was like, all right, I've got to take my curriculum. I got to develop, I got to do all these things. And so now it's like, all right, well, didn't think it would happen now, but here it is. So, let's go and put in as much as I can. But as soon as the state tournament's over, it's like, all right, now it's a full data drop on, all right, now everything's as it's going to be.
yeah. All right. Well, as we've gotten with this guy, he's bouncing around and stuff. You said you got a meeting later on tonight.
Yeah, I got a meeting a little over an hour in Chelsea. So got to hopefully, my grant passed the first phase. So the city council is meeting tonight and looking to potentially buy us 2 wrestling mats. So I'm going to go there to be there to answer questions if they have any. But yeah, the city is embracing the program. The stuff that a wrestling coach asks for, it's a very good thing, even with all the frustrations that go on this year and everything's going on. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened.
Yeah.
It's good to have. But yeah, so yeah, one of my dads is on the city council, so he's like, all right, we got a meeting tonight, so if you can make it, that'd be great to answer any questions. So I'm going to go and hopefully city council will approve the grant.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to buy 2 mats and
That'd be awesome.
donate the other 2 mats to our youth program.
Yeah.
So-
So now I guess the next question is, well, getting into more stuff, like, so where are those mats going to go to then? Like, you got a site for them, or are they all going to the high school, or?
So right now we have 4 mats that are from before the previous head coach. One of them, 2 of them are only lined, but most of the lines are gone because the mats are junk as far as the lining that they did. So those mats are going to be donated to our youth and to the facilities that the city is working to build within the next year or 2 for the program, within all that they're doing, not just for our program, but for other sports that the city's doing. We have 2 competition mats right now that if you look at them from far away look fine, but then you get down there and the letters are peeling, stuff's awful. So those are going to migrate down to middle school competition mat.
Yeah.
And then these next ones would be the Resolite Zip Digiprints, city logo, like all the stuff, the top quality. That'll be the high school competition mats. So.
Yeah. No, those are pretty nice too. So, well, good luck with all that. And it's also cool. I'll say it for you. Listening to everything that you guys been working on, like literally the built by Chelsea. I know you guys have done a lot of work with all that and the branding and everything else. So, good luck to not only to Kale but the rest of those guys as you guys head into state this weekend. And look forward to getting updates and results and everything on all of it.
It's going to be fun as a coach and a dad. So it's one of those things to look forward to. And you'll get to do it too. So it's going to be. All right, man.
All right, take it easy. We'll talk to you later on, buddy.
See ya.
Bye bye.